Does faking it till you make it really work? I hear that a lot, but I'm not sure that that's the truth. Here's what I really think of this common advice. First, I can't fake what I don't know, and you can't fake what you don't know either. And I remember reading about this advice a long time ago, and I just kept thinking, I don't know what this means. How do I fake being a successful coach if I'm just learning to be a coach? I didn't know a lot of coaches at the time, and when I got into coaching, it was kind of a new field. It felt inauthentic, it felt uncomfortable, and it was just this kind of sense that I couldn't fake it till I made it. And I wasn't even sure how do you know when you've made it, right? What was that goal or what was that place? So if you're feeling like, I definitely can't fake it till I make it, I get you. And if you're doing that, you probably aren't feeling authentic, and people are going to sense that. I do see a lot of this, as I'm sure you do as well, on social media, right? On a lot of places where people are kind of you can prop a lot up with photos and videos, and I understand why people do it, right? It's like this marketing, this brand that they're building, but the rest of the world can sense it, right? People can sense it. People can sense that there's just something off with this. And the truth is, we like people who like themselves. We like people who are authentic. We like people who, can be themselves in any situation. So in my own world, I found that the more authentic I am, the more that people feel like they can connect with me. In fact, when I wrote my last book, Up Level Now, I shared a lot of personal information there, probably more than I've ever shared before. In the last chapter, I talked about visibility and just like even being on here, being on video, right? For a long time, that was really uncomfortable for me, and it was really difficult because there were things that in my past that just made it challenging to really stand up and be visible and be who I am. And so it's something, I'm sure this is something I've really had to work on. And when I share it with other people, they're surprised. Or if they see me speak on stage or I deliver a keynote, they think, oh, I can't imagine you've ever struggled with this. In the 9th grade, I had a hard time reading a paragraph in front of the room. Like I was petrified. I had panic attacks, and it was something that I had to work on forever. And I don't think it really hasn't gotten easier. It has gotten easier, but it's taken a long time to get to this point. So I just want to encourage you, if this, like being visible, being seen, has been challenging for you, but yet it's something that you feel called to do because it's important for your business, then I want to encourage you to find the support that you need, to find professionals that can really help you overcome that fear or release whatever's happened in your past so that you can fully stand in your most authentic self. Here's a couple tips too that I'm going to share that hopefully will help you be authentic and really stand in who you are in your most powerful self. First, be honest. And this is tricky because I don't think the world necessarily wants to hear everything about my life, right? So there's still boundaries around that. And you've sat with someone who maybe has overshared because they don't know you yet. So honesty isn't necessarily about oversharing or telling all the things that have happened in your life, but it is being honest in the moment of, if I'm uncomfortable. Or I remember speaking on a stage one time, I'm in front of, I don't know, it was like 400 people, and I was having a panic attack. I'm literally in the middle of a keynote presentation, having a panic attack. And I still remember this. I looked to my right, and if you've never had a panic attack, I don't want you to have one. So just know that, let's put that cancel. You don't have to have one to know this. For those of you who have, you know what I'm talking about. It feels like you're fainting. It feels like the whole world is closing in on you. So here I am, I'm standing in front of 400 people delivering this keynote, start to have a panic attack, and I look to my right, and there's a gentleman who is handling the sound system and doing all the things that he needs to do to make sure this conference was running well and that people could hear the speakers, etc. And I look to my right and I just say, hey, could you get me a chair and a glass of water? And I think he's kind of saw maybe I had turned a little bit white. I was just like all the blood had drained from my face. And he was fast. He had a stool on the stage almost immediately, and he had some water for me. And I sat down on the stage, and I was just trying to gather myself. And at that moment, I gave the audience an exercise to talk to each other, which I've done before, so I knew I could do it. It wasn't part of this presentation, but I knew I could just move into that space. And I'll never forget this because I'm thinking, okay, they're going to come back and I need to be ready. And so I'm pulling myself out of this panic attack as quickly as I could while also managing the audience. And the audience is talking and they're doing fine. And then, they came fully back around and I just kept going because part of it was that wasn't the moment for me to be like, hey guys, I just had a panic attack. It wasn't what we were talking about. It wouldn't have fit that story. Afterwards, though, I connected with several people and I was very honest about what had just gone down. And it was funny because they were like, we never would have guessed. Well, that's what happens when you've been working on this piece for so long. And now I talk about that a lot. I mean, probably at the next speaking engagement, I shared that story. So sometimes like in the moment, if you are having a panic attack, probably you don't want to talk about it. It's like, you got to pull yourself out of it. But I share these stories all the time. And that's a part of me being authentic and being honest about my experience as an entrepreneur and as a speaker on this journey, that it hasn't been easy, but it is what I'm called to do. And so I've figured out how to make my desire to help people much bigger than my fear, my doubt, or my panic attacks. So be honest and authentic. Like people feel that, people want to make that connection with you because they really want to know that you are like just like them or that you've had the same struggles. Second, be a lifelong learner, right? Like this, the whole fake it till you make it thing, just learn what you need to know. Malcolm Gladwell talked about the tipping point. He talked about 10,000 hours. And there's a lot to be said about that, right? He's done a lot of research about when you practice something for 10,000 hours, you truly can become the expert in it. It doesn't happen overnight. So be committed to your journey. What do you need to know to be successful in what you're doing? I am an avid reader. I always have been. Like for me as a child, my escape was school and the library. And I would have stacks of books and I was just reading. And to this day, now they're not books in my house because literally you wouldn't be able to walk through my house. Now they're books on my Kindle. I have thousands and thousands of books on my Kindle. I'm usually reading 2 to 3 books a week, probably 2 nonfiction, 1 fiction to balance it out. And that commitment to learning is what has helped me continue to grow my company and continue to help our clients grow their businesses. And, if you don't feel called to read 2 to 3 books a week, I totally get that. For some people, 1 book a month feels like a lot, but maybe you want to listen to books on Audible. Maybe you love listening to podcasts. Maybe you like purchasing courses and listening to them. So there's so many ways that you can become or be a lifelong learner, but it is one of those things that when you develop that skill set as a lifelong learner, it's going to serve you and your community and your clients and your family, everybody who's around you. And third, remember to surround yourself with business leaders who are ahead of you in business. When I first launched my business, I joined an organization called NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners. And it was by far one of the most powerful networking groups that I've ever been a part of. And the reason is because there were so many women business owners who were ahead of me in business, who had multi-million-dollar companies already, but who were willing to mentor, support, and share. And I was in the California NABO groups for about 10 years. And I started in a local chapter. I became president of that chapter. And eventually I was president of the state of California. And I share that with you because if you're going to be in a group, if you're going to surround yourself with business leaders in a networking organization or an association, I highly recommend sitting on the board. I highly recommend being in a leadership position because when you're in a leadership position, you get to connect on a deeper level with all the other business leaders who are also on the board with you. And I'm telling you, that is where all the business gets done, is where when people are hanging out on boards and in those conversations in the back of the room. So definitely get involved in leadership. And finally, because you're still hanging out with me, here's my pro tip for today. And of course, a little biased here. I highly recommend hiring a coach or finding a mentor who is exactly where you want to be, and so that you can emulate their success. It's not about faking it. It's about emulating the success that they've already had, right? So you can see what they've done, who they've connected with, like what really helped them. Being a coach, I know I need a coach. I have several coaches at the same time. I have coaches for my business. I have coaches for my personal life. I've had parenting coaches. I've had coaches on how to write books. I've hired a coach. Like if I need to get something done, I know that the fastest and easiest way to do it is to find someone who's already done it and have them show you the way, have them pull you to the next level. So find someone who can support you and get you to wherever it is you want to go next. Today we started out by asking the question, should you fake it until you make it? And my answer is no. I can't fake it. I don't want you to either. Be who you are. Be authentic and connect with other business leaders. Be a lifelong learner as you grow your business, whether it's reading books or listening to podcasts. And finally, hire a coach or mentor who's exactly where you want to be. So we just talked about the idea of fake it till you make it and whether or not that is good advice. I'm sure you've heard the advice before, do what you love and the money will follow. That's what we're talking about in the next video, and I'm going to dissect that for you. So stick with me, it's coming up next. And remember, your 2X is waiting for you too.